And welcome back to episode 3 of Alex's Disorganized Spots. I am your host, Alex Naranjo. As my folks on YouTube can see down here, yes, we have graphics now. Slowly but surely, we're getting the graphics in, folks. Work with me. I'm learning as I go, so we're trying to get this up and running for you. Thank you to everyone who's listened to the pod so far. Thank you to everyone who's watched the pod so far. Our first 2 episodes were definitely a hit, so thank you so much. Please continue to download, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Um, and let's keep going with today's episode. First thing we have to start off with is today's jersey. And for those on YouTube, you can see it over my shoulder. I'll describe it now here for those listening on the pod. We have a 2015 inaugural season home purple Orlando City jersey. That is actually the first jersey given to me by La Esposa. She gave that to me for our 1 year anniversary. As we actually went to the inaugural, that's a word to get out there, Orlando City game against New York City FC. That game ended in a draw. But the real reason it's up there is as a friendly reminder to all my friends who are Inter Miami fans that Florida is indeed purple. It is a purple state. Orlando City won yet again against those pesky little noisy neighbors down south. So just a friendly reminder that Florida, for as far as I'm concerned, is purple, and Orlando City once again owns Inter Miami. So let's not forget that. And before I actually want to start talking about soccer this week, but there was actually a stat that I came across. I heard it yesterday for the first time, and it really blew my mind. So for those, I'm not a big tennis guy, but I watch the majors much like everybody else. And obviously this last Sunday, Novak Djokovic, the Joker, won Wimbledon. I believe it's his 22nd major title. So what's known right now is known as the Big Three era: Djokovic, Nadal, and Roger Federer. It's amazing what kind of level of dominance they've had. They've been in 70 out of 78 of the last Grand Slam finals. There's at least been one of them. That's essentially 20 years worth of finals. Like, that is ridiculous that they're that level of consistency. And of those 70 times, 63 of 78 was won by one of them three. Like, that's 81% of major championships between three players. Like, a level of dominance like this, I really don't think we're going to see again. It's amazing to see. So I just felt like that's something I needed to share with you guys because that like really blew my mind. And something else that's blowing my mind, like I said, we're going to talk about a little bit about soccer, specifically MLS, kind of keep it here in the domestically for the most part. MLS been making some moves, getting some big names over. Very interesting to see players like a couple Italian nationals with Lorenzo Insigne and Giorgio Chiellini. Chiellini's more a little bit towards the back end of his career. I found out that he is like a month older than me, and I think I look much better for my age than he does. So, I mean, I guess I got that going for me. I mean, he's a world-class soccer player who makes a lot more money than I do. But, you know, hey, we all have our things, right? And I happen to think I'm better looking than him. I have significantly more hair. Right now it's a little blue, but still more hair. And, yeah. Insigne can still produce with the Italian national team, but the biggest name, and there's been other moves, but the biggest name that really drew my eye and caught my attention was Gareth Bale coming from Real Madrid over to LAFC. First of all, shout out to LAFC for the creative accounting to not have to use a DP slot for Chiellini or Gareth Bale. Like that's creative accounting at its finest right there, and that's MLS in a nutshell. They can do that, but Inter Miami gets caught cheating. But that's a different story for a different day. Yeah, Gareth Bale isn't known for his work ethic. I think he'll work hard this season because he's got the World Cup that he wants to compete in December, right? But my concern is next year when there's really nothing coming for him. Like we saw in Madrid how he much preferred golf, and I assure you, LA has a lot of golf courses that he can go visit. Um, so it's very, I think that's a very, very interesting signing, much like Wayne Rooney coming back to the U.S. after saying in a documentary he didn't like living in the U.S. with his family, but he's back coaching. It's just odd. But Gareth Bale is really like, if it works, MLS has a real stud on their hands, even if it's for a short period of time. And I think he will come in and work hard. I think he will come in and work hard. I think a lot of players around the world saw what happened with Gonzalo Higuain and his comments that came out. Like, he thought he can come in here and just play, like smoke a cigarette and play. And he quickly realized that wasn't the case. So I think players like that do have an impact, and the other players see that. So I think he'll come in and compete. I think it's interesting to see a player of his caliber who's still in his prime. I think Gareth Bale could have easily stayed in Europe and played pretty much anywhere else if he really wanted to. So is it something about the money, or is it, really the challenge of being able to know you're going to be playing every week, so you're going to be match fit when it comes for what you really care about, which in his case is, in fact, the World Cup. So those are some just happenings in the MLS. I know games were going on midweek after some rivalry games, as we all know. Florida's purple. I will not hesitate to remind you guys again. But speaking of teams in purple, when this one... Excuse me, folks. Sorry about that. This one kind of hurts me a little bit due to my affinity for the franchise. What is going on with the Orlando Pride? I don't understand. And I'm not even talking about the fact that the coach is under investigation for another NWSL policy on harassment. Like, unfortunately, that's like almost par for the course. Orlando City, the Pride were like one of the few teams that didn't have a coach suspended, so now they do. So it's like, well, now you're officially part of the NWSL. But it's not even about the coach investigation that really concerns me. What concerns me is the mass exodus of players that's happened over the last 7-8 months. Starting with, two players that I really considered the heartbeat of the team. And that was Ashlyn Harris and Ali Krieger. Famously, they are former U.S. women's nationals. They've both, I think, were on the team recently. They're both still trying to get on the national team, happily married. But they got sent to New York, Gotham, and that was already kind of the fan base started kind of looking at that like, okay, what's going on? Like we didn't get much for it, and then just more moves started happening. We had another goalkeeper sent out to Angel City. Then Alex Morgan, the biggest star on the team, probably outside of Marta, got sent out to the San Diego Wave. You have more players. Emile Claire is now with Angel City. Taylor Cornick was traded to San Diego. Emily Van Egmond was traded to San Diego. Ali Riley was traded to Angel City, and most recently Sydney LaRue was traded to Angel City. And I know I just kind of went through a list there, and that's probably a little boring for you folks, but I just need to show you just how many players have left the Pride, either by trade or just no one knows. No one knows the real reason as to why. The sad part is these are all great players. Taylor, Alex Morgan are currently up with the U.S. women's national team right now in the CONCACAF Championship, along with another former player who left 2 years ago, Carson Pickett. You see, there's Ali Riley, who's the captain for her national team. I don't understand what the concept is here. And then the most frustrating part is all these players seem to be a lot happier and performing a lot better now that they left Orlando. I mean, Alex Morgan is leading the league in goals. Honestly, the first and fifth place teams in the league are the two brand new California teams. And for the better part, Orlando Pride stacked both of those teams. Like, they single-handedly gave those teams each 2-3 of their top players. Management claims they have a plan. even after trading Sidney LaRue, who had signed I believe, a 3-year deal at the time, they claim they have a plan. They say they do. It's hard for me as someone who's been around the ladies to see it. They don't really draw much at Exploria. I wish I had the numbers, but I can tell you just from my personal experience, outside of one game, if they drew more than like 9, 10,000 people, I'd honestly be a little shocked. And that game was like the Olympic comeback game, or the World Cup comeback game. So it was one of those things where, they had a gimmick to go with it. So I don't know if the ownership sees them as kind of like a drain. So he got rid of all the high priced talent, because that's essentially what happened. All the high priced talent was replaced for youth, and it's not to say that the youth rebuild isn't gonna work. It's just hard to see, and when you see something like that, I know me personally as a fan, I look at that and I think, especially with the volatility that is in the NWSL, where you have a team that move. You had a team a couple years ago in Salt Lake City. They're back in Kansas City after leaving Kansas City. It's a little volatile. Teams seem like they can move and bounce around and things of that nature. So I'm scared that the team will up and move and find a better market that maybe supports them and gives them more fans or allows them to do more things. Because I don't know. It's honestly, as a fan, somewhat scary to see just player after player after player leave. And it's one thing if they were to leave and they were a little, let's say, washed up and they're just not performing up to standards. But that's not the case. For instance, Taylor Kornick, who's out in San Diego, she was a young player. I think she was drafted 3rd overall right before the 2020 season. And she's now playing with the U.S. Women's National Team. Her career had started to take off even last season. And for some reason, they let her go and they traded her out to San Diego. I don't get it. This team was talented. This team always had a ton of talent. I always felt like it was coaching, especially with the Pride. Like, there was just no cohesion there. There was no, just my 2 cents as a non-soccer coach, just observer. Like, they just didn't seem to get along with the coach. Like, especially the coach when I was there, when he just kind of up and left for Manchester United because he wanted to go home, he was from England, I didn't hear any clamoring that, and now with the coach that's under investigation for whatever the case may be, that story hasn't come out yet. Again, you're not hearing any defense. Like, so what's going on? Like, is there something behind the scenes that fans don't know about? Like, there's something going on with the Pride that gives me personally an uneasy feeling. And besides for the fact that, I don't like it, I really hope that it works out, because I want the Pride to succeed. I really do. Like, I was so hyped for when, like, Alex Morgan got there, and then Martha, and then Sidney LaRue, and all of them, because, like, I know the talent that they have, and obviously it's evident, because you could see just they're doing it now at other places. So I want them to succeed. I want them to win. I want them to compete for the Challenge Cup and the title at the end of the year. But it's just hard to see it's hard to see the plan right now. It's hard to see the plan, and I don't blame fans for being upset and revolting. Because if you look at their Twitter and Instagram, like there's some that are trying to be positive, but the overwhelming feeling is this front office doesn't know what they're doing. And I want to give the front office a benefit of the doubt. I know they're all good people up there, and I'm sure they have a plan. I'm sure they have a plan. It's hard to see what that plan is. And speaking of NWSL, before I kind of wrap a bow on soccer with this point here, so there's players in the NWSL right now. I forget who it is. I don't want to name her and say the wrong person. I know she's on the New York Gotham, and one of the players of the year is from that team for the ESPYs, and which, by the way, ESPN is doing an amazing bit of coverage with the UEFA Women's European Championships. Like, they're not shortchanging them. They're giving them a full studio show analysis. Like, it is top-notch coverage, top-notch soccer. I've actually been watching it and following it. It's been a fun tournament to watch. We'll see if England can finally bring home a major tournament. Because I feel like every tournament lately has been, oh, it's coming home, and it stumbles along the way and goes somewhere else. So we'll see how that plays out. But as much as ESPN is doing good for that, as I was mentioning, this comes from the NWSL. They're pissed off at ESPN because they're not going to be able to put the SBs for best NWSL player up there, and people were upset because it's a not the quality. It's a show. There's so much time that they have in the show, and some awards are going to get cut. Unfortunately, in this case, it was the NWSL Player of the Year award. But some of the responses I've seen to it are absolutely ridiculous. Like, I'm gonna actually have to go pull up my phone here. One guy said he was gonna cancel ESPN, which I guess he just doesn't want to watch any sports because the amount of things that are specifically only to ESPN, it's like, dude, you obviously don't want to watch anything. Um, Others called them hypocrites after their Title IX series, and I can see why because they did do an excellent documentary on Title IX now that it's 50 years old. Um, Come on, like again, it's a TV show. Like I'm sure they'll have the best WNBA player being presented. Like, are you guys gonna get upset about that? Like it's long enough as it is, and they have to edit out things all the time anyways. Okay, you guys are like they're in the middle of the season too. Like now, there's no games going on the day of the award show. Like I did double check that. But it's just like I said, I don't see the big hullabaloo, if you want, about why like, oh, you're shortchanging us, or like you truly don't have equality. Another one that I saw, you truly don't have equality outside of the NCAA selection show. Like, oh, that's a bit strong. It's wrong, but it's a bit strong. Like ESPN, unfortunately, I feel like sometimes is really in a damned if you do, damned if you don't position, where they just simply can't win because they'll never appeal to everyone. Like it's impossible to appeal 100% of your audience, you know. So I saw this and I was like, you've got to be kidding me that people are really people were going in on ESPN like if. Like I said, man, like it's a TV show. Like how much time do they really have on the ESPYS to like think everything? Like yeah, they have all the categories and everybody can vote, but not you don't see all the awards for the Grammys. You know what I'm saying? You don't see all the awards for the Oscars. There's plenty of things that happen off camera or that are not invited that you find out. Unfortunately, in this year's version of the ESPYs, the NWSL Player of the Year was one of those awards. It sucks. I don't like it. I mean, I love the NWSL, like I said, but it's one of those things. I just find a hard time getting myself all riled up over it when it's really a whole lot about nothing to me. But speaking about a little bit more fun topics, I love my TV shows. So the Emmy nominations came out yesterday, and I don't know about you folks, but I love looking at Emmy nomination lists and then seeing like, oh, hey, I watched this show, I watched this show, I watched this show. So like I like seeing like, hey, which shows am I watching that are like award nominated? And then when the awards actually happen, I'm all over like, hey, I watch award winning shows here, folks. Like, yeah, this guy watches award winning shows. So like I'm very excited at shows like, I'm watching Stranger Things. I forget Ted Lasso came out for this year's Emmy Awards. Like, if you haven't watched Ted Lasso, it is one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. So definitely recommend watching that. And then you also find shows that you're kind of intrigued by or that you forget, right? As far as nominations. Like, I've heard very, very good things about Barry. With, I believe it's John Hader, and I know Henry Winkler's in it as well. I've heard that show is absolutely Bill Hader, excuse me, Jason Sudeikis. Got him confused. I've heard that show is absolutely fantastic. I wanted to see Only Murders in the Building. I believe the second season just came out now. I love Steve Martin. I absolutely adore Steve Martin. I think he's hilarious. So I definitely like I said. So the Emmys are cool, man. I always love seeing like other shows, or like I'll see documentaries from here, like Pam and Tommy. I obviously want to see. Makes me happy sometimes when like the talk series, like it's all shows that I watch. So, like this year, it's Trevor Noah, Kimmel, John Oliver. Stephen Colbert. So it's all what I watch. So it makes me feel like, hey, I'm watching stuff that's a winning awards. Like I'm definitely gonna get a winner in that category. But before we really move on to the next topic of this detour of the Emmys, what I really want to win, and if anybody has Disney Plus, I highly recommend you go watch it. I thought it was very well done. Nominated for the best TV movie this year from Disney Plus is Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. And oh my god, it is so well done. I will say it's not as kiddie as like you would expect it to be, because you think of that and you think your childhood and the cartoon. It's definitely aimed at our generation. It's them growing up and just what happened after the show ended. So I thought it was great. Lando loved it. He still loves it. He wants to be Chip and Dale for Halloween as of today, but he's 5, so that may change like tomorrow. But as of today, he wants to be Chip and Dale. With obviously Noah will be Dale, and then we'll work out the rest of it. But yeah, so that may happen. But yeah, if you get a chance to check out Chip and Dale, definitely go do that. I'm trying not to spoil it, even though it's way past the spoiler rule that we usually have, or like if there's another person. I see, folks. I'm still getting used to this whole hosting by myself thing. I still miss Mondo. I know he's listening, so Mondo, I miss you, man. But it's very good. And speaking of spoiler warnings, I've already seen the final episode of Miss Marvel. I absolutely loved it. La Esposa was a little on it. You folks tell me what you want. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Talk to me about it. However, no spoilers will be given on the pod for 1 month from today. So, you got 4 weeks to watch Miss Marvel. From there, I will be spoiling it. I will be talking about it because, believe you me, there's lots and lots and lots to talk about. So, once again, you guys got 4 weeks to watch Miss Marvel. Make sure you get on it. It is a great show. I loved it. I thought the ending was great. And the only way I can describe it is there's a part in the show that literally had me slapping my thighs, and excuse my language right now, pointing at the TV and going, "You motherfuckers, you did this to me." So I thought it was great. I thought what they did was great. Definitely go and check it out. The final topic that I wanted to talk about this week actually goes back to those who heard our final episode of This and That with Alex and Mondo. I had a small preview on there of Alex's Disorganized Thoughts. It was basically about the Live Tour and kind of some of my thoughts on it and what could possibly happen going forward. So I kind of want to touch base on that today because we are on it's Wednesday. It is, well, no, it's now Thursday past midnight as I record this for you folks. So the Open Championship is about to get underway in a couple hours. It's the 150th Open Championship. They're hosting it at St. Andrews, the birthplace of golf. And Liv has made a very, very big appearance in this tournament. It all started even before the tournament started when you had former champions, specifically Greg Norman, the CEO of the Live Tour, basically told, hey, you're not invited to the Champions Dinner because essentially we don't trust you to not make it about the Live Tour. And maybe he could have done that, but everybody would have asked him questions about the Live Tour, so it would have been the end of that, as it is. So you already have the Live Tour showing up and affecting events and things that they were planning to do for this big occasion that is the 150th anniversary of the Open Championship in England. So you have that. Then you have, and I want to get his name right here because I think it's one of the greatest. It is truly, truly a great golf name. Martin Slumbers. He is the head of the R&A. The R&A is the organization that's in charge of hosting the Open Championship. And he had, of all the organizations, probably the strongest comments, essentially saying that players took the easy way out by taking the guaranteed money. I don't disagree with that. And I think the biggest part was it was echoed by none other than Tiger Woods. I don't think anybody's come out as strong as Tiger did on Tuesday about this, and essentially calling out the players and telling them, hey, you turned your back on the PGA. If it wasn't for the PGA, you wouldn't have the opportunity to be on the Live Tour. You know, because they're not just getting like some nobodies; they're going after big name people. You know, so it's you turning your back on the PGA, and the biggest thing that I agree with him is what's your desire to compete if you're on the Live Tour? It's 54 holes, no cuts. Like there's teams. Like what do you, with teams? Like how does that even make sense? Like it's all just a scam for the Saudis to really just sport wash their money. And it's what motivation do you have to get better? Like there's no drama anymore. Like part of the drama is, hey, are they gonna make the cut, and then like having to earn it. But now these guys are getting these fat checks. Like I believe Bryce DeChambeau actually came out. One of the guys Brooks Koepka, Bryce, and all the guys who I mentioned a couple weeks ago, they're all now on the Live Tour. And Bryson actually semi-confirmed his deal that it's 4.5 years and a little over 125 million. Now, that's crazy money. And he even said most of it already came, it was up front. So obviously they're splashing cash at these guys to get them to come and just play on their tour. Now my thing is, how much of that money is on the back end? Is that going to become an issue? Because you got all this money front end, yeah, but now all of a sudden on the back end you're not getting as much anymore. Are you going to try and renegotiate with these people? Are you seriously going to try and renegotiate with the Saudi government? Like, please tell me how that goes for you. And if it goes well, we have different diplomatic issues that we can use you for. Like, this is going to pose a problem in the long term. I don't see the benefit of the Live Tour. I, for one, have, like, I may have been interested in wanting to watch it, like, the first tournament that they had. But even then, I couldn't find it on TV. I believe I found out recently that it's just on YouTube. So, that's great, I guess. But again, so no one's bought it for TV rights. Like, it's up there for free. Like, I don't see how it's going to work. But the problem is the Saudis don't care. They have enough money to blow. So, like, I don't think it's good for the PGA at all. I don't think it's good for golf, period. Like I said, I just don't get down. I don't get down with the Live Tour. It doesn't make sense to me. And I know I interacted on Twitter about this earlier today. Because Patrick Reed's apparently, I'm fully convinced that he's getting extra money for being dressed as a professional clown for the Live Tour. Because he's the only golfer at St. Andrews who's wearing, like, Live Golf logos all over the place. Like, there's extra cash. There's extra cash coming to that guy for that. But it just makes him look like a bigger douchebag. Like, and he's going around smiling, and like I said, my comment is, yeah, he's smiling because the check cleared. But, like, dude, like, you lost respect, and you lost even more respect by pulling that bullshit. Because that's, excuse me, folks, that's absolute nonsense. As far as who I think is going to win, I really hope Rory wins it. I feel like it'd be nice for him to win the 150 if at St. Andrews. It'd be fitting. Or obviously Tiger Woods, but I don't think Tiger's gonna really win. But it's good to see him out there. And and just to end, because I don't want to end on a downer of a note, just trashing the Live Tour. Starting obviously in a couple hours, Tiger is grouped with a young golfer named Max Homa, and this is a great story, folks. It's something I want to end the night on, just to end on a positive. Max Homa, 9 years ago, when he was 22 years old, won the Pac-12 championship and qualified as winning the Pac-12, got into the U.S. Open as an amateur. He immediately went out and tweeted, like, hey, Tiger, how about a practice round? #hero. Because much like many kids that grew up in his generation and before, and I know people my age, we grew up on Tiger. Tiger is the man. Tiger's the GOAT. Tiger's the greatest golfer of all time. And he really, in my opinion, he is. But he's just the GOAT. So this guy was like, hey, I'm going to the U.S. Open. Tiger's going to be there. Let me shoot my shot for a practice round. Obviously, Tiger, like at that time, he really wasn't that active on Twitter. It's more so recently that he's become active. And so nothing happened. Nothing came of it. Obviously, Max didn't take it personally. It's a shot at his hero. Well, come tomorrow, or earlier, in a couple hours, he's paired with him for the first 2 rounds of the Open Championship. He promptly ran out and tweeted as soon as he found out the pairing. The golf gods, we're good now. Something along the lines like, the golf gods, we're good now. I get to play the 150th Open with Tiger Woods. I get to tee off with the GOAT. So happy. Like, the guy's overly excited to be this, getting to play with Tiger Woods. And good for him, man. Like, honestly, good for him. Because I think I'd be the opposite. Honestly, like, if you were to tell me, like, hey, you're going to go play around with Tiger Woods, like, my first thought might be is, like, man, I'm going to fucking embarrass myself. Like, how can this be possibly good for me? Like, I'm gonna drive the ball 10 yards, and Tiger's just going to laugh at me. Like, I'd be scared shitless. I'd be intimidated. I would honestly, but this guy, man, he's 31 years old, and he's like, no, let's do it. Let's go, man. This is, like, my dream, and you have to admire that, and it's awesome to see, and especially with Tiger at this age in his career, to kind of see stuff like this happen to him is kind of funny and kind of cool. So I love it, man. I love it. So on that note, folks, it's time for the signs to come back, unless I can get graphics, but we'll do signs for now. So don't forget, subscribe, download, rate, review, and comment, please. It is greatly appreciated. If you want to find me on YouTube or Instagram, Alex's Disorganized Thoughts. On Facebook and Twitter, it's Alex Disfots. So if you want to contact me,